Okay, let's unpack this. If you drive, there is one maneuver that seems so simple, but in practice, it requires this perfect choreography.
Merging onto a highway.
Exactly. Merging onto a high-speed highway from an on-ramp. I mean, it demands split-second timing, you have to match speed perfectly, and there's just zero room for hesitation.
And our sources show that while it feels routine, it is statistically one of the most stressful and, frankly, risky moves we make behind the wheel.
So this deep dive is all about pulling back the curtain on the science of the ramp. Our mission is to take you from, a nervous merger to a confident navigator by really understanding the psychology and the engineering behind it.
And that tension you feel,
Yeah,
it's real. It's
for
supposed to
sure.
be there. The core difficulty, which the research really highlights, is that you're taking a slow-moving object, your car. You have to blend it into traffic going, 70 miles per hour?
All within this tiny shrinking bit of asphalt.
Exactly. It demands so much focus and confidence. And when drivers hesitate or, panic, that's when you get these unpredictable speed changes. And that's what creates the risk.
I think we sometimes forget why these ramps even exist in the first place. So before we get into the dangers, what is the fundamental purpose here? It seems obvious, but I guess the purpose really dictates the design.
They're basically traffic control mechanisms, whether you're talking on-ramps, off-ramps, those giant flyovers. It all boils down to three critical jobs.
Okay.
First, they facilitate entry and exit. They give you that transition zone.
Yeah.
You can't just slam on the brakes to get off a highway, right?
Right, and you can't just jump from 25 miles per hour into a 70-mile-per-hour flow of traffic.
That's it. So the ramps handle that speed adjustment. Second, and this is huge, they improve the overall traffic flow.
How so?
Well, by giving drivers a separate controlled lane to speed up or slow down, they stop people from making sudden speed changes on the highway itself. If everyone had to slow down for every car trying to get on, the whole system would just grind to a halt.
Complete gridlock. Okay, so what's the third role? I'm going to guess it's safety, but that feels a little counterintuitive given how stressful it is.
It is absolutely safety.
Yeah.
Ramps provide a controlled space for that speed adjustment. They separate the riskiest moments. They prevent cars from making these sudden, dangerous moves on the main road, which, dramatically reduces the chance of a serious collision.
They channel the chaos.
That's a great way to put it. They channel the chaos.
Okay, so here's where it gets really interesting for me. Our sources single out merging onto the highway as uniquely difficult. We're not just leaving the party, we're trying to join it. What makes that acceleration lane so challenging?
It's a classic physics problem, really. You're trying to match the velocity and the position of the traffic you're joining.
Not just the speed.
Right. And unlike a lane addition, where a new lane just appears, a merge requires blending. The main struggle drivers have is twofold: judging the gap accurately and then, perfectly adjusting their speed to fit into it.
And that lane is not infinite.
Not at all. And a lot of drivers make the psychological mistake of waiting until the last second to really commit.
It's that combination of time pressure and high stakes. You have just seconds to judge everything, and if you get it wrong, the consequences are immediate.
Precisely. And that's why understanding the dangers is so important. When we look at all the incidents, we can group the 10 major risks into a few categories. Let's start with the three biggest collision risks, the ones based on pure physics.
Okay, let's do the movement risks first.
The first one is what we've been talking about: high-speed differences. The contrast between your speed on the ramp and the highway speed is the single biggest risk factor. Merging at 40 into 70-mile-an-hour traffic makes you a moving roadblock.
So the key isn't just getting up to speed, it's doing it early.
Yes. You want to match the flow before you even get to the merge point.
And what often makes that worse is the second big risk: short merge distances. Some of those lanes are just shockingly short. The clock is ticking from the moment you get on it.
Exactly. If you're dawdling, you literally run out of road. The only mitigation is to accelerate promptly, safely, of course, and to start using your mirrors and checking blind spots immediately.
Not at the end of the lane.
Never at the end.
Yeah.
That's a recipe for disaster.
And that leads to the third one, right? When people mismanage the first two, they make abrupt lane changes.
That's it. People panic when the lane ends, so they swerve or cut someone off. The fix is just so simple. Signal your intention way in advance. Plan for a smooth move, not a sudden jerk of the wheel.
So those are the big three movement risks.
Right. Now we can pivot to the other 7, which are more about the environment and, driver behavior. They're often the reason the first 3 risks happen in the first place.
Okay, let's talk about the road itself. I'm thinking about exit ramps now.
That brings us to risk number 4, Sharp curves,
Hmm.
especially on off-ramps. So many drivers just ignore the posted advisory speeds. They take the curve way too fast and risk losing control.
Yeah, the mitigation seems obvious.
It is. Slow down before you enter the curve, not when you're already in it.
That's such a classic mistake. You're coming off the highway, you feel like you've slowed down, then you hit that turn, and your tires start squealing. It's terrifying.
Yes. Fifth is more mundane, but just as serious. Congestion and bottlenecks. Ramps get backed up, and all that stop-and-go traffic leads to rear-end collisions.
Your only job there is just leave some space.
Maintain a safe following distance and be ready to stop, even if you were just accelerating a second ago.
Okay, what about just being able to see? Visibility has to be a big one.
Absolutely. That's number 6, poor visibility. Whether it's from the curve of the ramp, an elevation change, or just bad weather, it limits your reaction time. The fix is immediate. Turn on your headlights, not just the running lights, and slow down.
And on that note, number 7 must be weather itself.
For sure. Weather conditions. A wet or icy ramp is just treacherous. You have less traction on curves, less traction when you're trying to speed up or slow down.
So again, just slow down.
Slow way down. Increase your following distance and be smooth with the steering and the pedals. No sudden moves.
All right, so we've covered the road. The last 3 must be the human element, the driver.
The 8th danger is purely human. Distracted driving. A ramp requires 100% of your attention. If you check a text for 2 seconds, you've missed your window to merge. It's that simple.
9th.
Confusing signage. This is a big one. If a sign makes you hesitate or forces a last-second panic decision, like realizing you're in the wrong lane for your exit, you become the hazard.
The mitigation for that starts before you even get in the car.
It does. Plan your route. Pay attention to signs way before the ramp itself.
And the last one, the worst case scenario.
Number 10, vehicle breakdown. Getting stuck on a ramp with this limited space and high speeds puts you in extreme danger.
So the mitigation is just maintain your car.
That's the best defense. But if it happens, hazards on immediately. Get to the shoulder if you can. Every single second counts.
Wow. That list really drives home how many things are happening at once. But I want to circle back to something you mentioned, the sharp curve on an exit ramp. I look at some of those and I just think, a civil engineer definitely did not use common sense here. It seems so unsafe. Why is that intentional?
That's a great question, and it's where we get into the engineering secrets. The sources are really clear on this. Those curves are not flaws, they are deliberate. The number one reason is controlled speed reduction.
Meaning what, exactly?
The curve is designed to be physically uncomfortable to take at high speed. It forces you to slow down the second you leave the highway. It ensures you're at a safer speed, say 30 miles per hour, before you hit a local street or a stoplight.
So the road is literally making you slow down because it knows a driver might not do it otherwise?
Precisely. And the second reason is often just practical, space constraints. In a dense city, you can't build a long, gentle, sweeping curve. You have to fit the ramp around buildings, property lines, hills. A sharp curve is sometimes the only option.
Okay, that makes sense. And the third reason?
Traffic management. The curve acts as a natural separator. It keeps the high-speed highway traffic from, mixing too quickly or aggressively with the slower local traffic. It keeps the two systems distinct.
That explanation really gives me a new respect for those aggressive curves. So speaking of speed, let's talk about the signs. What's the real deal with speed limits on ramps? Are they law or are they just a suggestion?
They're a bit of both, which is why it gets confusing. First, you have the posted speed limits. The black and white signs.
Those are the law.
Those are regulatory, legally enforced. They can be anywhere from, say, 25 up to 55, and engineers set them based on the ramp's specific geometry and safety factors.
Okay, so that's the legal side. What about the engineering side?
That gets into what's called design speed. This is the maximum safe speed that an engineer calculates based purely on the physics of the road, the curve, the banking, how far you can see. The legal posted limit is always set at or below that number to give you a safety margin.
And then you have those bright yellow signs. They look urgent, but they're not the black and white ones.
Right. Those are the advisory speed limits. They're strong recommendations almost always placed right before a sharp curve. And while they aren't usually legally enforceable like the white signs, they're telling you the optimal safe speed for that turn.
So if you ignore that yellow sign on a rainy day,
you are actively fighting the engineering limits of the road. You're taking all that risk on yourself.
So if the white sign says 55, but the yellow sign says 35 for the curve, you should be targeting 35 to actually make the turn safely.
Exactly. You have to respect both. They're telling you different things about the road ahead.
Okay, so we've covered the risks, the engineering, the speed. Let's bring it all together. What are the absolute best practices for you, the driver, to navigate a ramp safely every single time?
Let's focus on 4 non-negotiables. First, signal early. Tell everyone what you're planning to do the moment you decide to do it. Don't wait. Check your blind spots consistently. And I don't just mean your mirrors. Because you're entering at an angle, a car can hide in your blind spot for much longer than on a straight road. A physical head check is mandatory.
The third one feels like the most counterintuitive one for nervous drivers.
It is. Use the full acceleration lane. That lane is a tool. It's designed to give you the time and space you need to get up to speed. People who panic and try to merge halfway down are making it harder for themselves and for everyone around them.
Use every foot of asphalt they give you.
Every single foot. And the fourth tip, especially for rush hour,
Be patient.
be patient. Aggressive driving, trying to force your way into a gap that isn't there.
Yeah.
That's the opposite of smart driving. Just slow down, keep your distance, and wait for a safe opening. A few extra seconds is always worth it.
This brings up the ultimate nightmare scenario, the one we all dread. What is the absolute non-negotiable golden rule if you mess up and you miss your exit? The panic is rising, you see it in the rearview mirror. What do you do?
The first thing you do is control that panic. Stay calm. Do nothing sudden. Don't swerve. Don't slam on the brakes.
Okay.
But the crucial rule, the one you must burn into your brain, is this. Never, ever reverse or back up on the highway or the ramp. It is incredibly dangerous, and it's illegal for a very good reason. The speed difference is just catastrophic.
I can hear people thinking, but I have to go back. So what's the safe way to correct the mistake?
You swallow your pride and you keep driving.
Yeah.
Proceed to the next available exit. Get off the highway safely. Then find a parking lot, a gas station, a safe place to turn around. Only then do you get back on the highway going the other direction.
Safety over saving 5 minutes.
Always. Never compromise the flow of high-speed traffic for your own convenience. So when you put it all together, what we've seen is that mastering a ramp isn't about being aggressive or getting lucky. It's about preparation. It's about understanding why the road is designed the way it is, those short lanes, those sharp curves, and then using consistent, smart driving practices.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into road ramps. Our goal was really just to shortcut your learning curve and give you that foundational knowledge to turn what feels like a stressful guess into a calculated, predictable, and much safer move. And here's a final thought. Consider this next time you're driving. Every on-ramp is an engineered equation of time, distance, and speed. So when you approach one, don't just see a strip of asphalt, see it as a mandatory acceleration challenge. And ask yourself, am I using every single foot of this lane the way the engineer intended to make my entry as controlled and predictable as possible?
Please like, subscribe, and get notified.